G'day, it's Willie here, and welcome back to our McLaren Motorsport Manager F1 2021 Manager Mod Save Season 2. So I hope you're having a fantastic day/night wherever you're watching from. Today we got the Baku GP in Azerbaijan in just 3 days, so back to back with Monaco. I really do enjoy this race in real life. It's one of my favourite tracks to drive on the F1 game as well. I'm sure I'm not alone in that regard. But just before we get started, I just wanted to thank Luke Gaming, Colin Hartman, Peter Plays, and Jake Johnston for commenting on the last 2 videos yesterday. Make sure to leave any thoughts, feedbacks, and suggestions down below. I appreciate it a lot. I replied to every single one, and I'll feature you in the videos the next day. So remember to comment down below and like the videos as well, and subscribe if you're not already. That being said, let's jump into it. Okay, so the engine will not be ready for Baku this weekend, so really not much to report on the design new part side of things. We're going to try and work on the front wing, and it will be done in time for the race, so that's going to make a very even front wing for a crucially front wing circuit. I think I said front wing way too much in the last couple seconds there, but that's fine, we move on. We're going to work on the suspension as well a little bit, so we'll bump them out. And we're going to try and keep the cars as even as possible, because it was quite interesting. I got a few comments as well saying how interesting it was seeing Lando against Ricciardo. So we'll try and keep it a bit more even going forward in the season. Alright, so I've done some calculations, and right now Lando's car is overall 62 performance better than Ricciardo's. So it's quite a margin, so we're going to try and offset that a little bit. So we're going to give Ricciardo the brakes. That's about 15, and I don't really want to give him as big as an advantage as the engine, but I think we give him the brakes, the front wing, and the gearbox, just slight advantages, and then Lando can have the better engine mainly, the rear wing, and the suspension. I think it's enough of a competition to make things a bit more interesting, but not too much to really upset us if we want Lando to win the title. So we're going to go ahead with that sort of outlay. We can always change it later, and we've got some new parts on the horizon, but for now, this weekend, that's the car distribution. Alright, welcome to the streets of Baku, and we will not have a Red Bull in this session. Max Verstappen went out in P19 in Q1, so quite the upset. We've had a bit of rain, and we will continue to have rain, so there's no point sending out the lads just yet. It's a pretty quick lap around here, so you must stay on your toes at all times. I think if we send them out at about 7.5 minutes, you could probably still get 2 runs in. That's being optimistic. It's a bit of a risk, because if they don't come back in time, we only get 1 sort of hindered run. But we're just going to full send it here anyway. Norris is going to go out. They'll definitely be able to come back for a second run, I do believe. And yeah, Hulkenberg went out in Q2, so both Red Bulls will not be participating. We almost lost Hamilton and George Russell as well, but a last-minute heroics in Q2 saved them as it started to dry up a little bit. But we'll see how we go in Q3. It's going to be very interesting, because Hamilton has been quicker all weekend, apart from that Q2 session where he was perhaps caught off a bit by the rain. So see what happened here. Right now we're leading. We look much faster on the super softs. I mean, that being said, we did set a pretty good lap on the softs in Q2, but we'll keep going out on the super softs, because that is technically the faster tyre, and that will be pole position. Not only pole, but a 1-2. Hamilton down in 4th, and Norris gets pole over Ricciardo this time round. It's all going to come down to the race though. Whoever gets the better start will take the race lead. Alright, race day. Our boys, as you see there in the orange, front 2 spots on the grid. Come on lads, let's have a nice fair race on the light footed. Let's face it, we're not really going to be caught now. But it's going to be a good race between our boys. As you can see there, the setups are set, and it's a free tyre selection. So I went through on softs in Q2 for no reason. Didn't really matter. We went through anyway. So, but that's fine. Now we get a fresh set of softs. We're going to go push, overtake. You know what? Let's just go all out. Let the boys completely race. But let's ride on board the front driver in Norris. Let's ride on forward, I suppose. Look forward. Alright. Keep it fair, lads. Decent start from our lads. Decent start. Hamilton's got a better one, though. He's going to go right around the outside of both our guys. And Leclerc as well. And we've had a shocking start. Not even decent. We've fallen well down the grid. Norris is now holding up Ricciardo. And so we've got the Aston Martins now giving us some trouble. And I jinxed it by saying we're not going to get caught from the start. Not only have we been caught, we've been caught by Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, so absolute nightmare fuel here really. As we've got Sainz and Hamilton in front. Here comes Ricciardo around the outside of Norris, nothing for him there. We're going to tell him to cool it on the tyres and stuff a little bit now where I don't know what happened. I honestly couldn't tell you why our start was so bad, but we're going to zoom forward a little bit. Ricciardo gets past Norris, and that is massive from the lad. And Norris going to come back at him, and ooh, Mazepin's crashed out. He's just gone straight on. I don't know if he crashed out, more parked up. I don't think that was too much of an accident. Would have been a big accident if he's hit the wall and bounced back into the middle of the off-road, but yeah, Mazepin out of this race regardless, and with the rain still quite a while away, we are obviously looking after our tyres. I do think the AI are going to have to pit before the wet period, as they have already this season proven to not understand. I mean, when I say wet period, it's hardly a wet period, so we could technically slick through that, I reckon. I mean, we'll see when we come up to it, won't we? But yeah, Ricciardo right now in second, 7 seconds behind Hamilton, who looks like he might have to pit sometime soon. We're going to cool it on the petrol and the tyres. Norris behind Ricciardo now. Let's get into the swing of this race. Okay, so the rain has kicked in, and I'm not entirely sure what's faster. Ricciardo wants to come in for the inters, but we're going to monitor this gap. So right now it's 2.9, and if we tell him to push a little bit on this tyre, are we risking an accident? I'm not sure, but we're going to tell him to push a bit on this tyre, because it's honestly not that wet. So if we monitor that 2.8, what's it going to be? It's sort of going up. It's still going up. I mean, we can pit eventually as it does get a bit heavier, but it's still 3.3. I don't think it's time. I really don't think it's time to come in yet. Norris is cutting down that gap as well. So if we just still look after the tyre, because our tyres have still got heaps of life in it. Again, it's going to get a bit heavier now. How big is the gap? So it's probably, yeah, it's probably eking towards that inter, but we're not on that for long. It drops back down after a couple columns. So unless we're losing a ridiculous amount of time, we'll just watch it very closely. So 5, it is going down quite a bit, but we're sort of closer to the end than the start, really. So I don't think it's really worth pitting. We've got one more column to go of heavy rain, and we'll just tell the boys to go a bit heavier on the tyres to try and make up for the lack of pace on the slicks in the wet conditions. 1.4, and the worst of it is pretty much behind us now. And we're going to have to cool down on the tyres a little bit, because we want to be able to get to that massive monsoon wet period right at the end of the race here in Baku. And hopefully we can do just that, as the rain will start to really dry up. And as it has, so now Norris can hopefully get past Hamilton, who should be a sitting duck on the inters and hardly any rain. We'll monitor that one really quickly as his gap's going up and his tyres are overheating, and so are Ricciardo's. Really got to look after these lads so we can get to that wet period. Alright, so as you can see, Hamilton is now rapidly catching Ricciardo. So he's going to come in for his wet stop now. So is Norris. So chuck on the wets. We're going to the end on the wets compound. Make sure I clicked wets. Yeah, I did. Oh, and there's a 2.2 second mistake on the wets. You're joking. Oh, that is the first time this race that's happened. And I think I'm going to get a question about team orders at the end of this race now, because I accidentally clicked it. But that is not good. But hopefully we can just really push on these tyres and try and get Hamilton, who could have outsmarted us here for a first non-McLaren win of the season. And he's well in front because we pitted one lap too late, I believe, on the wets. That would probably be why. But we'll see how the rest of this race sort of plays out, I suppose. We don't really have any fuel to push on either. There was always a risk going long on those slicks, but I don't regret it at all because we made up a bit of time. We just maybe left the last pit stop a couple laps too late, perhaps. So, look, it's looking like Hamilton's going to get his first punch in for the season. Unless he runs out of fuel, we just got to stay within that fuel gap, to be completely honest with you. They could literally drop out of fuel on the last lap of the Grand Prix. So if we can stay within at least probably 7 seconds, which is just not going to happen. The gaps are even getting bigger. I don't know how. He's looking after his tyres, so I'm not sure how that gap's getting bigger, but it is. So we're going to cool down on the engines. As Norris is now on the back of the Ricciardo, tyres aren't looking great, to be honest. So we're going to let him fight on there. conserve sort of strategies. We're not pushing that hard. But last lap of the Grand Prix, we're going to ride on board Ricciardo, and this is going to be the first race that we don't win. And I just think we left that our only pit stop, we left that pit stop one lap too late, and it's been a big penalty of losing the race win. But Verstappen recovered up to 5th from 19th on the grid. I mean, that's Hulkenberg in front of us, but just out of interest, I looked up for Verstappen, who overtook Russell as well. And do we see a Hamilton car crawling to the finish line? No, he finishes nicely. So fair play to Hamilton and Mercedes today. That's smart of us. We won't take that one too much to heart. We still only lose 1 point to them in the championship race. And yeah, first non-McLaren win of the season comes in the 6th race. So, you know, we have to be pretty happy with that start. So Lando loses his top step now for 2 races. Of course, Ricciardo took it off him last time, and now Hamilton will take it off him. And we're stuck with a silver trophy. I'm not on the podium with my hat anymore. It's not the best scenes out there, must be said, but that is a good scene. 102 points still clear. So we are still fighting on the chairman's satisfaction, obviously, because we said we'd get 4th place, and we got 2nd by 1 point. So you can't be too upset. And as you can see, I literally called it. I accidentally clicked that button, and we didn't even use it. No, we didn't use it, buddy. Sorry, I didn't mean to accidentally click that button, to be honest. But anyway, that will be it. Our engine is complete. We'll sort that out next episode. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. The next episode will be out in a couple hours from now, if you're watching for when this goes live. But this championship has got a bit of life in it. The race is on. So make sure to leave a like if you're enjoying the series, and consider subscribing if you're not already. Leave any thoughts, feedback, suggestions down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.